Welcome to Unleash Leadership, the podcast where bold leaders and changemakers come together to share their stories, strategies, and insights for creating a lasting impact on society. Carla Blanco is your host. For over 28 years, she has been navigating the complexities of the corporate and government worlds, a journey that's taught her that authentic leadership isn't just about climbing the ladder. It's about lifting others as you rise. Along the way, she uncovered the unwritten rules that drive success, the ones no one tells you about, but that can define your career and legacy. On this podcast, she'll sit down with extraordinary guests from around the globe, leaders, visionaries, and innovators who are leaving their mark on the world. Together, they'll explore their journeys, uncover their tips and tricks, and dive into the challenges they've overcome to inspire you to excel in whatever you're facing. Whether you're climbing the corporate ranks, building your personal brand, or leading change in your community, this podcast is your space to grow, learn, and unleash the leader within. So grab a notebook, get ready to take action, and join us on this journey to unleash our leadership potential. Before we dive in, make sure to follow Carla on Instagram, LinkedIn at Carla Blanco Coach, Carla with a K, and YouTube at Carla Blanco Show to stay connected and get even more leadership tips and updates.
Today, I am thrilled to introduce Emma Hicks, Vice President of Membership and Programs at Wequal. She is a champion of curiosity, scalable learning, and inclusive leadership, from transforming director education at the Institute of Directors to driving 30,000 mentorship exchanges at the Connector. She builds global communities that turn insight into action. Emma curates world-class learning across 60 countries, advocating that employee development is both a moral and commercial imperative. Her leadership ethos: progress is most powerful when the door is held open for those who follow. Emma, welcome to the show. It's an honor to have you here. Emma, share with us about your journey and how you became Vice President of Memberships and Programs at Wequal.
Of course. And just to say, Carla, thank you for having me. So my career has always been about building spaces where people step into possibility. I love learning, and I have loved learning from a very early age. Initially, I thought I wanted to be a teacher. But cut a long story short, I actually fell into adult education when I completed my studies, and I did everything from designing learning to delivering to real people. I'll never forget, I was 25 years old, and I remember standing up in a training room, because everything was face-to-face back then, and thinking, my goodness, these people are paying to hear from me, and I'm 25 years old. But the joy of having people engage with each other and to learn from each other, it just kind of started from there, really. After that role, I joined the Institute of Directors, and I had a decade's worth of experience there, working with directors and boards across the globe. It was fantastic. And again, I had this sense of, what are you doing? Why are people listening to you? The majority of the subject matter experts that we worked with at that level were older than me and predominantly male, not in every case, but there was me, probably later 20s, telling them how to be better at facilitating learning. But it was an amazing experience. And when COVID hit, I had to reimagine learning for directors and take our whole face-to-face provision online. And that was a huge challenge, but it meant that thousands of leaders could have access to development when they needed it. And I think the main thing that it taught me, and this has stayed with me, is that you're never too senior to keep learning. And leadership isn't about having all the answers. It's about staying open. It's about staying curious and willing to grow. I then moved on to Connector as Chief Commercial Officer, helping to scale 30,000 mentoring exchanges. And what that taught me is that the transformational impact of lived experiences being shared between leaders and emerging talent is transformative. It builds confidence, retention, and belonging. And that really got me very, very passionate about how we support underrepresented talent, from sort of grassroots all the way up to, senior level. And I joined Wequal, and I now get to learn alongside, these amazing leaders from across 60 countries. And every session, Carla, feels like a privilege. These are people shaping industries and redefining what leadership looks like. And again, I had to learn my role isn't to be the expert in the room, it's to unlock stories and practical insights that resonate across cultures. And that's what creates belonging. And that's the impact that I want to scale. And I get the honor of continuing to do that in my role here at Wequal.
It's fascinating how you are living your purpose since you were very young. So that's really inspiring, Emma. And you just mentioned curiosity and continued learning.
Yes.
And at another times you have mentioned that those are vital for success. How do
Yes.
you cultivate those traits within global leadership communities?
Yeah, so curiosity for me and for Wequal is the very foundation of inclusive leadership. And, we encourage leaders to stop waiting for permission to grow or, to get that tap on the shoulder and instead take ownership. In our sessions, the speakers that we have that come in as those executives role models, they role model curiosity by sharing their failures as openly as their wins. And that sort of vulnerability and that openness to learning sends a really powerful signal that learning is ongoing, even at the very top. And children instinctively embrace mistakes as part of learning. And I'm going to share a little story about my daughter later on. But leaders really need to reclaim that mindset, be willing to try, be willing to fail, and then you adapt. And so when leaders show up in that way, curiosity cascades and teams feel safer to experiment, innovation unlocks, and suddenly learning isn't just an event on the calendar, it's embedded into culture. And that's when you see not just better leaders, but stronger businesses. So it's something that we really bring to life, through our community, through our programs, everything from the way that we design the questions to unlock, those real lived experiences. And it is genuinely just such a joy to be part of that.
Thank you. I really love how you position that and how this cascade throughout the organization, impacting the culture of the organization. And you have under your belt over 30,000 mentor-mentee exchanges. What have you learned about engineering meaningful sponsorship at the scale?
Yeah, I mean, a lot. I haven't personally done those 30,000, by the way. I should, through the power of, a really
Yeah.
great platform and obviously a really good strategy and really strong relationships with organizations. But I have, from my own experience, been a mentor, been a mentee multiple times. And I've also had the experience of gaining a sponsor. And one thing I'll start by saying is that too many leaders, especially women, are actually over mentored and under sponsored. So mentorship is about advice, sponsorship is about advocacy. It's about putting your reputation on the line to back someone's potential and to talk for them when they're not in the room. And at Wequal, I brought this in as something I'm very passionate about, and I'm really proud, to say that we make sponsorship visible, we make it structured, and we make it scalable. And that matters because hidden talent can't be unlocked if sponsorship only happens for those that are already visible. And we've seen this in action. Many of our corporate partners, but one in particular, embedded a structured sponsorship program as part of our Rising Leaders program. And within 12 months, career progression accelerated, whether it's through expanded roles and remit, promotions, lateral moves, stronger succession plans. So sponsorship really does lift careers. Paired with mentorship too, it is extremely powerful. I mean, sponsorship alone, but it also strengthens organizations, and that's what we need. It creates that future-ready leadership pipeline that reflects real talent and also society as a whole. So it is something clearly I'm very passionate about. But I believe in the power of both. I believe in the power of coaching as well, peer coaching and individual coaching. They're different types of relationships, but I think to drive that meaningful change, you need to have a sponsorship approach that is structured and that's got that executive level buy-in and is part of your talent strategy and your succession plan.
Thank you for sharing. And meanwhile, you were talking, I just recall my first experience with a sponsor that changed the trajectory of my career because I covered for my boss when she got married, then she got pregnant, and then she left the company. And the general manager asked me if I was going to apply to her position. And I told him, no, I'm not ready. And he pushed me. He told me the worst that can happen is that you learn in the process. And I got the position. Then I will tell you that was a decade, my golden years at Intel. But later I learned that he was a sponsor too. So because the vice president had like someone else in mind, but he was we worked together very closely, so he positioned my strengths for the role, and that was a huge impact on my career trajectory. So having that structure and mentorship structure and embedded in companies, I know it creates a huge impact. I truly appreciate Wequals and what everything you do for advancing leadership in the world, which we need a lot. Thank you, Emma. And Wequal's Net Promoted Score is a world class. What's your secret to designing peer-led learning experiences that resonate across 60 countries?
Yeah, so our world-class net promoter scores come from more than just content. They come from connection and community. So we design our programs using something which we designed, which is called the Wequal WISE framework. And that is world-class, inclusive, scalable, and external perspectives. But the magic happens when leaders realize, I'm not here to be taught, I'm here to take ownership of my growth. It's those real human lived experiences, those role model guest speakers. It's the curation of the right questions that really unlock the insights which transcend professions, backgrounds, and borders. So time and time again, participants tell us that I came for those global perspectives, but I stayed for the community. And that community is what unlocks confidence and resilience. And when managers stop feeling stuck, innovation flows, productivity rises, and succession pipelines strengthen. So it's a combination, but I would say the real edge is the kind of community, that peer-to-peer, the combination of seeing an inspirational role model that has failed, let's be honest, but overcome. And this is how they've done it, alongside those real practical insights. And, I love it in sessions because, you'll get, a senior vice president who's based in South Africa, hear from a CFO based in Argentina, and they'll both bond over something, and they'll be in completely different industries, completely different backgrounds, and that happens at scale through the work that we do. So that is a very powerful thing, which really develops that sense of belonging and that world-class net promoter score that we are very proud of.
Yes, that's the secret, definitely the human connection. I do heart to
Absolutely.
heart,
Yeah.
which AI can't replace. So,
No. I mean, AI has many benefits,
yes,
um, but it cannot replace the heart. That
exactly.
sort of heart. It can help with mind and efficiencies, but that human to human connection, you cannot beat.
Yes, well, definitely. And I love AI, how it can help
Mm.
leaders uh, create more inclusive communication and connect. But that
Mhm.
connection yes, is something that is powerful. And also, you have been a change maker in leadership education long before ESG went mainstream. How do you foresee governance evolving in the next 5 years?
Yeah, it's challenging. I mean, governance is shifting fast because the world around us is evolving. And I think, particularly in the US, changes in legislation mean that companies can no longer offer identity based programs, as you know, and that could feel like a setback. But in reality, it forces organizations to evolve faster. And we're included in that, Carla. So, from my perspective, governance can't just be about compliance, with today's rules. It has to focus on long-term resilience, accountability, and leadership culture. And that's for us where inclusive leadership as well comes in. Our programs have always been behavior first, about unlocking talent, dismantling blockers, and accelerating leadership readiness. And this makes them both legally safe and commercially powerful. Research shows, again, I know you know this, and most people do, that companies with diverse leadership outperform their peers. And because most senior roles are still held by men, it's vital that we bring men into the journey and embedding inclusive leadership behaviors where the power sits. So governance is waking up to the truth. Inclusive leadership isn't optional. It's the foundation of sustainable success. And so for us, true leadership is about creating space for difficult conversations, especially when the world outside feels so uncertain. And it means moving beyond policies and platitudes to genuine care and action. Um, Succession planning and the strength of the talent pipeline should always be on the strategic agenda of every board and exco. And, big part of governance is around risk and opportunity. And I think, without succession planning and your talent pipeline and your strategy around that being at the very top of that exco and board agenda, companies really risk short-term fixes and knee-jerk fixes instead of building lasting impact and capability. So we're all learning. I think we're all sort of supporting each other to navigate this world, but I see opportunity if you do it in the right way. It's just about adaptation, isn't it? But anyway, there we go. That's
Exactly.
that's how I see it.
And also, thank you so much, Emma. And also, you are known for turning insight into visible impact.
Mhm.
What does that journey look like for someone stepping into leadership for the first time, especially considering this context that you just shared with us?
Yeah. So for first time leaders, and I know I can speak from experience, right? That often, we'll assume that HR or your manager will guide your career. And I do genuinely speak from experience. And the breakthrough is realizing, what? I am the CEO of my own career. And that means I do have control. I can set boundaries. I can carve out time for reflective practice, strategic thinking, seeking mentors, asking for a sponsor, building my network intentionally. and taking the initiative to have those career conversations myself. And that's exactly what our Rising Leaders program is designed to do. And it democratizes the development opportunity. So giving all managers, not just the select few, direct access to senior role models and peer coaching. But I do think that shift in actually, I can take some control back. I can own my career. There is support out there. It might not always feel like it. But again, that's the power of what we firmly believe in and what we create through the experiences that we deliver on our programs, is that you're not alone. And actually you can take control over aspects of your career trajectory. It's about being intentional. It's about setting those boundaries. So when first-time leaders adopt that mindset, their careers do accelerate, engagement rises, and for organizations, they will secure the leaders that they need for the future. And the other thing to emphasize, and again, I've definitely fallen into this trap, Carla, is that, for many sort of first-time leaders, we place a lot of emphasis on perfectionism. Earlier I talked about the need to be an expert, which is why we place a huge emphasis on resilience, because leadership isn't about perfectionism. It's about showing up human, being willing to learn, to be curious, and about role modeling well-being, because it gives permissions for others to do the same. So that's what we're enabling. And I also feel very passionately that anyone can be a leader. They don't have to be senior within their organization. And I'll talk maybe more about that in a little bit.
I'm looking forward to it. So I will summarize as well: prioritizing yourself and take care of your well-being, be proactive and take ownership of your career, and also gain perspective from engaging with others. So I really like how you share about how young leaders can step up. Thank you so much. And you have called employee development not just a moral case, but a commercial imperative. And you just shared about the benefits of diversity and inclusion. How can leaders bridge that gap in skeptical organizations?
So again, this is drawn from lots of experience, and it's one of the main reasons that we launched the Rising Leaders program, is that mid-level managers often sit in that critical junction between strategy and execution, right? I mean, it's probably one of the toughest roles to be in that kind of middle management layer. And if they aren't supported to grow, the consequences will ripple quickly. So for me, development isn't a perk, it's performance insurance for the organization. And we see that a lot of companies only invest in high potentials, and we flip that. So I've talked about democratizing development. We scale development across all managers because that's where overlooked talent sits, and the return is tangible. So one of the clients that we use, I've mentioned that, they've seen, by opening up, development opportunities to more people, you're not then relying on a handful of individuals. You're building a system-wide bench of ready leaders. And again, the evidence in terms of what's been achieved in the first 12 months, combined with sponsorship, as well as the program, is absolutely delivering from a business, so from a strategic perspective for the organization. So it absolutely is a commercial imperative, as well as a moral one.
I definitely think that the structure and the system and getting this into the culture and the way of doing business makes a huge difference in the bottom line at the end of the day.
It
So
does.
it's really good for the business. So if leadership is a door best held open for the person behind you, how can organizations embed that mindset into their culture for long-term legacy?
Hmm. So, real leadership is shifting from thinking I succeed when I get through the door to I succeed when I bring others with me. And that comes back again to sponsorship. Um, we ask our Wequal executives community and our corporate partners simple but powerful questions. So, who have you advocated for this year? Who have you made visible? And when sponsorship becomes both the mindset and a metric, it moves from occasional acts into that cultural norm. Um, so that's how organizations build legacy, by creating leaders who see success not just as an individual achievement, but as lifting others alongside them to thrive. So, we talk a lot about leadership legacy, Carla. And again, that's kind of one of the golden threads through both of our programs is what's the legacy that you want to, or do you think you're building now? Because legacy isn't just about when you leave, you need to start building, or when you move up. And make space for the person who's coming in behind you or across, because lateral moves and career mobility within organizations is really important too. So legacy isn't what you achieve alone. It is who you bring with you and the relationships that you build, the superpowers of others that you unlock. And so that's something, as I said, that we feel is really important. And our CEO, Mark Bateman, who is a wonderful coach, has some great kind of reflective exercises to really help you think about what legacy are you building? How are you driving the succession plan? How are you supporting others? Because that has to be what it's about, right? Is again, human to human, supporting others. That just makes for a better world, right? And we'll get
Exactly.
there
Yeah.
quicker. Um,
Yes.
yeah, so that's
Yes.
again my take on it, really.
Yeah. Yes. Leaders create leaders, open doors, and
Mhm.
keep those doors open for
And keep
many
those
others
doors
to
open.
keep
Absolutely.
going. Yes. And I would like to go more into personal. Can you share an accomplishment that fills your heart with pride and shared about how you transform the challenge into an opportunity?
Hey, gosh. It's really difficult to think of, the one thing that you're most proud of because and this is common of a lot of leaders, and we see this in our sessions, we don't often take time to pause and reflect and think, what have I done? Sometimes it's really easy, isn't it, to get sort of bogged down in the things that you didn't quite do so right. um, but this is a really important exercise for me in terms of preparing, for this podcast. And yeah, I've loved the exercise. Um, for Connector, my time at Connector, being part of an organization that was giving scalable access to mentoring, it wasn't just about the numbers. They were about belonging. At
Mhm.
Wequal, I'm proud that over a third of our award winners now sit on, executive group committees. I'm also proud of all of our alumni who stayed deeply engaged. I couldn't believe it when I joined Wequal, having worked, with subject matter experts and speakers, my whole career. I couldn't believe that, we had these group of incredible leaders that just wanted to give back. That there was no expectation. They were just happy to come and share their experience to help others. And I thought that was going to be a major challenge. The thing that I've found most challenging is the things that you can't control. So, the wider evolving marketplace has, been challenging for us as an organization in terms of how we evolve and still continue to drive our mission. So that's required a lot of teamwork, a lot of difficult conversations, a lot of courage. But I'm really proud of the direction that we're going in. And I'm proud of the fact that our community, both at executive level and at rising leaders level, continue to grow, and they truly represent, hundreds of globally listed organizations across pharma, financial services, engineering, tech, and so much FMCG. Like, it is crazy how we have these partnerships and how much everyone is driving towards the same purpose in spite of the uncertainty and the challenges that we're all facing. So again, it comes back to community, whether it's in terms of a corporate partnership or whether it's with an individual. So I'm really proud of all of that. And then proudest personal moments. So it will be things like, Carla, when a Rising Leaders participant has told me, I thought I had no future until I saw someone like me on a Wequal session. Or it's my daughter saying after her first day back at school last week that it's okay, mummy, not to get it right all the time. That's part of learning. And those reminders keep me grounded. Visible role models are transformative, right? Like your sponsor. They prove that when people own their careers, organizations thrive too. So that's quite a lot, isn't it? It wasn't one.
Well, I will summarize all of that, and I feel proud of your legacy because it's a global footprint and across industries. So thank you so much for that. I feel so proud too. And let's move. And well, time flies. We are
It does.
of this conversation that I enjoyed so much. It's been a privilege being here with you, Emma. And I would like to learn about what the phrase unleash leadership mean to you and how that mindset has influenced your journey.
Yeah, so I'll go back to one of the first things I said at the beginning, that to me, unlocking leadership it's about potential, it's about possibility, but it's also about responsibility. So leaders can't control everything, but they can control how they learn, how they show up, the boundaries they set, the sponsorship they give, and the culture that they role model. So unleash leadership is possibility, but it's also ownership of your career, your influence, your legacy. And if organizations embed that mindset at scale, as I said, the succession pipelines will strengthen, businesses will grow, and people will truly feel that sense of belonging. So it's about courage, it's about humanity, it's not about perfection, and it's leading in a way that helps others grow alongside you, because leadership isn't defined by a title. I said anyone can be a leader. You don't have to have direct reports. You don't have to be on the exco. Anyone can demonstrate leadership qualities. It really is defined by the impact that you create. So I guess in summary, unleash leadership it's about possibility, it's about ownership, courage, and humanity, and leading in a way that helps others grow alongside you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that time together. Really appreciate and hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much, Carla. It's been an honor. Thank you.
Thank you.